part on Kali.
Goddess Kali, and Goddess Kali has this disembodied tongue that sticks out. So
and protruding tongues are second only to the extended middle finger as the universal symbol of rock and roll rebellion. Shrug it off if you can, but God isn't laughing. You sons of the sorceress, whom do you ridicule? Against whom do you make a wide mouth and stick out the tongue? Are you not children of transgression, offspring of falsehood, inflaming yourselves with gods under every green tree? Let your collection of idols deliver you, but the wind will carry them all away. A breath will take them. But he who puts his trust in me shall possess the land and shall inherit my holy mountain. Of course, we're not suggesting that every time a tongue is stuck out, it represents this level of demonic rebellion, any more than this hand gesture always represents Satan. But clearly, in certain contexts, it can have a deeper, darker, and more spiritual significance. And given the rock and roll industry's occult foundations and its blind embrace of chaos and rebellion, one would have to be either incredibly naive or willfully blind not to admit that something very strange is going on here. Like it or not, where buzzards flock, there's dead meat, and you can be sure that where the icons, signs, and symbols of evil gather, that real evil is not too far away.
There's a whole new generation of young people who are discovering that psychedelic plants and vegetables can be used for trance experiences. It's called acid house music. The basic strategy here is you set up a hypnotic trance experience with either LSD or ecstasy, and you just kind of dance for 4 hours. And then there are certain words, mantras that come in and out. And it's amazing how another generation intuitively, instinctively developed the group shamanic experience, and it's becoming very, very popular in Europe and this country.
Nowhere is the occult world more powerfully realized in contemporary music than in the confluence of DJs, hypnotic rhythms, strobing lights, covert all-night parties, drug usage, and New Age ideologies that define much of the rave subculture.
I mean, the hippies talked about it for ages. Dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's here. It's coming. 2 years now. It's here. You know? Listen and be reborn.
What began as an underground phenomenon, often relegated to exotic locales in India and the Mediterranean, has become mainstream, with events drawing thousands of people in cities around the world. But as we've seen throughout this series, there's a lot more going on than just music and people having a good time. Both the musicians and the audience understand that there's a profound spiritual vibe going on as well.
You should let go of all your inhibitions and dance your socks off, because that letting go process will open you up.
You can't bottle the feeling of just total euphoria, like when a DJ just brings you like to this level where you're just like totally out of your head.
Your consciousness is expanded because of this supernatural thing that happened to you. As close as you can get to God, this is the closest I've ever felt to being with God.
Rave music and techno music and the new dance music is the flowering of new spirituality.
This new spirituality is in fact quite old. The cultivation of altered states of consciousness through a variety of techniques and substances that have been used shamanistically for thousands of years.
Let's go back to indigenous cultures, to the ancient civilizations. Shamanistically, it was part of the ritual you would take, there are certain drugs that would open up certain levels of consciousness. So when you surrender yourself into the dance, into the ritual, into the collective organism, you have this, you open yourself up. It's a key.
On his website, Decker is very specific about the means by which his band will help his audience open up. Medicine Drum are modern shamans, he says, the techno-pagans of electronica. They take the listener on an incredible journey into psychedelic trance. And Decker has loads of company. There are hundreds of bands and DJs who view their music in precisely the same way, as a form of techno-paganism, a gateway into trance and the spiritual world. Goa Gill, perhaps the most revered of the techno-tribal DJs, cut to the bottom line when he declared, "Music has gone through a complete cycle. It started in ancient times with tribal drumming, and now it's come back to tribal trance techno. I'm basically just using this whole party situation as a medium to do magic, to remake the tribal pagan ritual for the 21st century. It's an initiation." Quite often, these shamanistic experiences are intensified with the use of drugs, expanded now through modern pharmacology to include new and powerful psychotropics, including LSD, E or ecstasy, G, and special K.
When you drop this chemical bomb into your neurosystem, you are cutting up all your previous inherited perceptions of what we call reality. Everyone suddenly has shamanic experience for a couple of dollars.
And then there's the use of light and sound to manipulate, most DJs would say accentuate, everything from metabolic rates to brainwave activity and states of consciousness. Whether we're talking about in training or photic and auditory driving, the terminology may be more sophisticated, but make no mistake about it, these alterations are based, often consciously, on occultic, shamanistic formulas.
Indigenous rituals performed by shaman in the Peruvian Amazon and stuff, they would beat a drum at a certain number of wave cycles per second. In modern club culture and in seeing modern club events and modern rave events and things like that, you're seeing people entrained in the same brain state. You've got strobes, you have lighting that everyone's taking in, you have big time photic driving, and the music is auditory driving.
That's why people get so excited at a rock concert and tear up the seats. It's because their metabolism is being governed by the bass and the rhythm and the light. And that's what it's all about. It has reduced down in the West for the first time to a ritual which admits to and utilizes the most arcane and ancient methods for achievement of altered states and a celebration of that contact with otherness.
But what is this otherness that ravers often come in contact with? Into what are they being reborn? Before we answer that, allow me to again say that we're not questioning people's conscious intent or their sincerity. I know that many ravers don't use drugs, and an even greater number really enjoy and are even comforted by the often sincere sense of community that a rave can produce. And compared to the brain deadness of a hardcore mosh pit, a rave can seem even sublime. But sincerity and New Age goosebumps are not the ultimate arbiters of truth. As always, we need to look at both the methodologies and the fruit through the lens of Scripture. And in that context, what we find once again departs from the true faith and gives clear heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Not only do we find drug abuse, including the not infrequent overdose, not only do we encounter sexual immorality, sometimes reaching levels that rival the orgies of the ancient cult of Dionysus, but preeminently, Whenever spirituality becomes open and ritualized, it invariably clothes itself in the garb of pagan and Eastern religions.
You've seen him a million times, the dancing deity in the ring of fire, the image of the Hindu god Shiva.